Titan, the number one rules is never taking off the What the heck kind of exotic armor are you wearing? I decided to wear Mask of the Quiet One, sir. Oh, come on now. That exotic is too dog water and way too outdated since Season 1, since Destiny 1 was released. Why are you giving that exotic a chance? Because I feel like it. Well, that's on you. You. But we all know that the Doom Marchers is just better than lower tier exotics. Yeah, we already know that, and got you, Hex. Hey, alright now. Get out there and show the exotics some love, I guess. What's epic, YouTube? Skills here. In today's video, we're gonna be talking about underutilized exotics or underrated exotics, armor pieces, for the example of the Titan only. And basically, I created the tier list that revolves around it. Now, I just want to be clarified, there will be no exotics that are super related, such as Eternal Warrior, Curious of Fallen Star, Helmet Saint 14, etc, etc. All but just for one specific exotic that caught my eye, hey, that leaves my track and wake. Hey, wait, because in the end, all you're just worrying about is having 100 intellect, 100 intellect with thresh weapons, basically every time you get a kill, you gain a small amount of super energy. Hey, all you just need is elemental wells, and orbs of power. Here, and I just think, in my opinion, it is too specific and not really taking advantage of what the exotic can truly do. And plus, they're just either too weak or too much super heavy relying. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm very sorry to say about this one. So let's go over in today's video. So I only split them up to D and C tier. So then, let's begin. Okay, what exotics is part of the D tier club that is basically too weak and demands a lot of things that it needs, or just overall just need to be buffed overall? Let's start out with the arm section of Stronghold. Here, Cleach's Fist. Maximize guard stats on equipped swords. Shots blocked immediately after your guard will heal you. You see the problem about the exotic already. It's too much asking you to use the sword. Now then, ever since particle deconstruction was gone for good, yeah, the Titans was wielding the crown splitter, and I'm like, is that really it? And I'm like, is this really it? But unfortunately, after particle deconstruction was out and that season was over, this one has been extremely low to use. You might as well forget about this exotic. You might as well meme about this exotic. But if you love this exotic and you want to defend it, sure, just follow me. Just go to Solar 3.0 and hit that healing grenade. There, that's all you need. Lament basically got you covered, and continuously healing from that lament. That's all I could tell you. If you want to use swords in PvP, well, you always got Eager Edge weapons, or even the Black Talon. That can be good, right? But even then, I wouldn't recommend Stronghold, as it's just too weak and it's just too much on being on guard for using swords type. Now let's check out the recent release exotic Armpiece. The one that is shut down too many times to the point of being nerfed to the ground. Pointless Contact Cannon Brace. defeating multiple targets with your Thunderclap restores melee energy. Targets near to you when you use your Thunderclap suffers lightning strikes. Being amplified increases the range of these lightning strikes. Unfortunately, as you saw at across the video, unfortunately, it needs a whole lot of support. Yes, only defeating one target just restores only a bit of your melee energy. That means you will have to spec in a whole lot of melee strength. Melee strength, and even the Monte Carlo, or even set up with the melee kickstart with it. Kickstart, or even then with elemental wells and charged with light builds, such as heavy-handed. Yeah, but even with all of that, even with even with all that melee and being ready and being amplified, getting ready to thundershot, it wouldn't kill a single red bar enemy, and that is horrible. Oh, you might as well call Hammer. You might as well call Hammer of the Worst instead of being called Hammer of the Gods, because this thing is utterly useless. Unless you want to defend this exotic or anything whatnot, that's up to you. But for now, we'll just have to wait and see it gets buffed. Although it does look cool, but too bad it sucks. Next up on the list is the Second Chance. These exotics got no chance in hell. Gain a secondary charge of your shield melee, which becomes shield piercer and stun barrier champions. Unfortunately, this one I tried to take this one earlier, like I said earlier in my tier list video. These one are super useless. Yes, you gain an additional throw shield. It does have a little niche with the certain aspects of controlled demolition, but the problem about this one is that its tracking and the shield throw overall sucks. Overall sucks. Well, maybe it does no benefits for. It gets no beneficial for just gaining shield throws, and by the time you meet up with the champion, even at a higher end game content, it would not one shot anti-barrier champions. Instead, this exotic is meant for lower end game content, which is bad. So the only way that you can make it look good is by inspecting yourself with strength with double melee kickstart. Until they buff second chances, until then, the second chance got no chance in hell at all. Which lead us to another tragedy that nobody using right now. That because many people are just gonna stick with pulse rifles and hand cannons in this type of meta. ATM Warbreak steadily rewards your proportion of your equipped auto rifles or your machine gun magazine from reserve. Provide moderate of airborne effectiveness and stat for auto rifles and machine guns. Now, unfortunately, there are some good sexy auto rifles. You're looking at Amore's the new crafted auto rifle. Well, there are some good ones, but overall the meta revolves around pulse rifles and basically hand cannons. I don't expect this one to be using too much, but if you decided to love auto rifles at your best, or even create the best auto rifle, for example, if you wanted to have an auto rifle that is high fire rates, slow fire rates, precision frame auto rifles. But luckily, there's plenty of good auto rifles from the Chroma Rush, or even the Armpiece. But most of us are not using auto rifles that much, surprisingly. Surprisingly, and even if we do try to use Acd Warbreak, it's basically mainly for PvE. Well, yes, mainly for PvE, to be honest. Yes, unless you're using Sweet Business. Yes. Now then, let's head over to one of the useless exotics. Yet another useless exotic, but let's just face it. It is the Serverless Enclosure. Powered melee final blows unleash a damaging explosion. Finishers. Yeah, finishers and final blows against more powerful targets increase the radius and the damage explosion. Now, now here's a little take about this one. If you are all about explosions and all about wanting to explode everything in sight, I got a perfect answer for you. Solar 3.0 will take this one into new heights. Yeah, actually, it will take this one into newer heights. Sort of, yes. Because when you land a final blow, when you land a melee final blow, it will create an explosion. It will create an explosion. Well, not much of an explosion, but it will, but it will create an explosion and landed a Solar Victus to it. It's like adding explosive to a solar melee explosions, even though we already got basically, we already pretty much got about that. Ashes to ashes. Yes. So let's go ahead and take a look at another weak exotic, Mask of the Quiet One. Now, this one was forever quiet. Gain ability energy when you're damaged. When you're critically wounded, regain maximum health on kills, which that is false. Only on red, only on your red bar of your health it gets is healed, not your shields. But how can you fully utilize this one, the Dread Vision? The answer is simple: Arc 3.0 or Stasis. Even though this is one of the weak exotics, it actually benefited this time around with Stasis or even Arc 3.0. For example, Spark of Recharge. When you're critically wounded, your melee grenade energy regenerates more quickly. Hey, and even Spark of Focus also synergize it too. After spreading for a short time, your class ability and ability regeneration increases. Yes, so there is a good synergy between these two combined. Hey, and same goes with Stasis, which means it does have some needs with Stasis due to the Whispers of Torment. You gain grenade energy every time you take damage from targets. So overall, Mass of the Quiet One is still good, but it's just not as good as the other exotics, which we're going to go over. Uh, And last but not least, I would say the king that could be work around this, and I don't really like this exotic as much. The Phoenix Cradle. So, because of the empowerment. Solar Victus lasts twice as longer. Allies who pass through your sunspots are granted Solar Victus and Solar Restoration. So this is like a mini buff, right? Yes. But can it kill in PvP? I don't think so. No, unfortunately, the Solar Victus damage over time in PvP is nerf, and people just passed by it and only took a little. It felt like I only took a little tick damage from Solar Victus. The problem about it is this is most likely used in, well, PvE. I can see this one mostly uses one in PvE because the removal of the previous one, Soul Invictus, it originally have damage bonus every time you pass through Sun Warrior, but now you no longer have Sun Warrior. You only it replaces with the name of Soul Invictus. Since it no longer has damage bonus, you only get Solar Restoration, and even then, it's most likely going to be used in PvE. How do you how do you fully utilize it? It's not that hard to do. You know how to use this Solar 3.0. Hello, you get a kill? Hey, you get a kill with the ability that has to do with Soul Invictus. Hey, you gain Soul. Hey, you gain Soul Invictus. It's pretty easy. And it's pretty easy to do. Overall, nothing much can be utilized with Phoenix Cradle, unless you have a support team that can put this one into best use. I can see this one, seeing this one a little use. Well, sort of. Well, sort of, but in my opinion, is underutilized and underappreciated. But I would say mostly underappreciated, but more appreciable in PvE. I meant to say, if I take my time on that. Take a look at the C section, which only a small amount of exotic made it into this one. And sadly, I see Crest of Alpha Luffy. I still miss the new monarchy ornament. Yeah, surviving well. Generating additional orbs of power from supers and healing pulse when you cast a barricade. If you say barricade, you know what that means. Double utility kickstart with resilience. With maximum resilience on the Titan. It's not the best one, but how can you really fully utilize this Crest of Alpha Luffy? The answer, well, that depends. That really depends. If you want to, Void 3.0 is actually good with this one because combined it with aspects of Bastion, you gain overshield for using it. Eh, You actually gain overshield for using Crest of Alpha Luffy. That means you get a slight survivability with it. Solar 3.0, yes, it can work, but Lorelei is still good. Is still good at that territory, so I wouldn't recommend using Crest of Alpha Luffy in the Solar 3.0. Well, unless you're using this exotic for the Void 3.0. It gives you a general survivability thought. Now, there's also another one that is underrated. I can't understand this one for crap. Aeon Safe. Yeah, there's Sector of Force, Sector of Insight, and Sector Vigor. Well, most likely Sector Victor. Sector Victor. You gain You gain class energy as your ally dies. Gain full class ability energy when you resurrect an ally. When you cast your super, nearby allies gain a burst of healing. Hey, Aeon, Aeon Cult allies who do not have the Sector Victor equipped role also gain an overshield. So, well, you can tell most of the part has some PvP and PvE aspect. But unfortunately, it's mostly PvE. But this one can be good in PvP, most notably the Sector Vigor. Vigor. As your ally die, you gain class ability as your allies die. You gain full class ability energy when you resurrect an ally. Hey, this is this can be making a play during while having Sector Vigor, it could actually make a play during elimination or trials. Or trials having that full class ability energy. I would say, in my opinion, Void 3.0. In my opinion, how to fully utilize this. 100 Brazil, while having 100 Brazil with double utility kickstart with it. And I would say it's best for using Void, in my opinion. The, it also, ever since the nerf to Bastion aspect, which means the barricade has an overshield, it gives you an overshield. You basically gain benefits, and when you class as a super, allies who do not have Sector Vigor equipped, they gain an overshield. I would say it's an added bonus to Void 3.0. A lot of things are related to Void 3.0. Oh, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. And let's check out the Armamentarium exotics. You gain 2 grenades. Hey, how do you utilize these 2 grenades? Even though they're basically underutilized and underrated. The well, I got an answer for you. The release of Arc 3.0 bumped this one up to a new one. New one. Uh, be sure you have discipline at max. This is why I'm a resilience titan and a discipline titan. And also movement too. But the main take is having 100 discipline. And with discipline kickstart. With grenade kickstart. I meant discipline kickstart. Either way, grenade kickstart. Because If you're a Titan like me, Touch of Thunder has plenty of a benefit for this exotic. For example, if you have Flashbang, and it animates an additional blind flashes on a bounce before the last blast. If you're using Pulse Grenade, creates an ionic trace periodically as it's damaging the target and increases damage over time. If you have Lightning Grenade, hey, you gain an additional grenade charge, although you don't need that. And jolts targets on hit by the initial blast. And even storm grenades. You get 2 storm grenades actually. After detonating, creates a roaming thundercloud that tracks nearby targets and fire bolts of lightning at foes beneath it. Eh, Although it is an underrated exotic, it's an underrated exotic and get mostly outclassed by Heart of Inmost Light. I can see this exotic gets a little use out of Arc 3.0 most likely, and it's also good with Stasis too, to get an added bonus to it. And last but not least, the most underrated one in the lower tier section, well, Capri's Horn. I'm not a big fan of this one. Solar damage and kills recharges your barricade, which unleashes a blast of solar energy. When summoned. Well, yes, you can run 100 Brazil and double utility kickstart, but the problem is, the barricade itself can recharge faster. Unless you have low resilience, then yes, you can have you can have a barricade ready, but most of the time people aren't going to fall for that. I want a dead messenger wave a barricade when I summon it. It's kind of pointless to be wearing this Capri's Horn anyways. Where if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. But how can I benefit this one? Well, surprisingly, as a defensive way, if you are willing to do it. But Void 3.0 with Bastion, Thermal Bastion can have this one. Yes, anything that is barricade related gets an added bonus. It can be used as an offensive and defensive type of style. Well, it doesn't need Solar 3.0 if you want it to be Solar 3.0, but Kefri's Horn with aspect of Bastion and some of the blast waves of Thermal can act like a defensive way to utilize this one. And so it can be a defensive or an attacking type of way. It's your pick. Solar nor Void, but mostly Void for me. Right, the last section of the underutilized and underappreciable exotics we're going to finally go through. Let's start out strong with Titan's Ramparts. Now, I'm not a big fan of this exotic at all, because while you do shoot through your barricade, your health and duration decreases. It needs a bunch of support. It needs a bunch of support for that to happen. And which means you're gonna need to wield Void 3.0 with aspects of Bastion, and with double utility kickstart. Alright, yes, it may have lower health, but with resilience and double utility kickstart and Void 3.0 with aspects of Bastion can help this exotic a whole bunch of ton, and takes advantage of being defensive and offense. So that way, by the time it breaks, you'll have a little survivability to get away, or you'll actually win the gunfight. Hey. Alright, Hoarfrost Z. Now, it replaces your stasis subclass. It replaces your barricade with stasis crystal that slows nearby targets when you create it. Standing behind this barricade will grant you and your allies real weapons to reload speed, stability, and range. So basically, it is an underrated one, but it's actually a good stasis defensive type of an exotic. The only problem about this one is easier to shatter if you're wielding a high K weapon, but not many people are wielding high K weapons And it gains a whole lot of benefits for doing it, for using stasis. But the only bad thing about this is that stasis as a whole for Behemoth Titans is a little hard to pull off. It's because of the amount of nerf they receive the most nerfs. Yes. But if you wield it at the best, if you build it at the best way possible to use this one as 100 resilience with double utility kickstart, as a stasis titan, and with a certain aspects that has to do with stasis crystal and stasis slide, you will be able to basic you're good stasis users to be using. And not to mention it gets Whispers of Change to gain damage reduction, although Whisper of Change is nerf. There's a whole lot less of stasis being used than using light subclass. Yes. Let's go on to the meme exotic. Well, in my opinion, Lion's Rampart, the Titan version of using Stompies, although just better than using Stompies. Is provide additional air maneuvers and enables in-air accuracy hipfire when you're in the air during lift. Provides a large benefit of airborne effectiveness stat to all weapons while hip firing, which means yes, this is the better Doom Marchers. How do you fully utilize this? Be my guest. You want to go mobility? Go at full high? You want to go high at like stompy hunters and never take off the stompies? You go at full of max mobility. But but if you're like me, who are using other weapons, well, DMT used to be a thing. This one raised to use after DMT was introduced. After that, after the DMT was nerfed multiple times, this one less likely to be using. Hey, only use this if you want to play like how you wanted to play. Hey, act like Stompies. Hey, act like this is Stompies, but you're playing as a Titan. And and outmaneuver anybody that stands in your way. Hey, I don't think. And coming in almost to number 3, the number 3 most underappreciated one, in my opinion, is Acd Feedback. This was never used at all during the 3.0 era. During the 3.0, before the 3.0 era begins. Melee hits inhibit energy. Being struck by a melee attack reduces incoming damage and unleashes the energy in a devastation explosion. Now, this exotic will see use in the Crucible elite. Well, at least if they're utilizing it right. Eh, because not just that, using having having Art 3.0 to help back it all up and even have his name, the Spark of Feedback, when you take melee damage, you gain increased melee damage. Art 3.0 helped it to raise this exotic and uses. Uses. Thank you, Art 3.0. You're still the best subclass in my opinion. And alright, no, number two is the most number 2 of the most underappreciated exotic, Precious Scars. First, final blow with a weapon damage type that matches to your subclass creates a burst of healing around you. After reviving or be revived, you gain an aura that provides overshield to you and nearby allies. Guys, when this one first came out, it was dog water. It was terrible. Oh, but by the time it got buffs, it actually has a good purpose. Mainly Void. Well, if you want Void. Yeah, if you want Void. Well, anything that is related to Overshield is the added bonus. The only problem is, it is, it is extremely demanding you to use Void weapons. But that's not a problem. There's plenty of good weapons, such as Under Your Skin bow, or anything, or to cure, or to summon all up, or to summon all things and whatnot. Use the precious crimson scars. cars build, which that will be coming up in the future build video. In the future build video. Oh, that way you can get a full maximum benefits with either the likely suspect or the snorri. With the snorri. Either way, it will work. And number one, the most underappreciated exotic in my opinion, Fall Mantle. No one uses this one because most of the people only cares about movement. Replaces your barricade ability with a personal overshield. When you activate your barricade, you create a burst around yourself that slows combatants. While you have the overshield, you are slowed and the barricade does not recharge. Now you can cancel it out with Icefall Mantle, but you may ask, what can fully utilize Icefall Mantle? Most of the Titan subclasses are mostly built for movement type of gear. Here, the answer: solar. I guess fire and ice does mix, right? Yeah, puns. Yeah, puns. But yes, fire and ice does mix. Combine it with the healing grenade. Yeah, combine it with the healing grenade of solar, and with solar weapons, you are naturally a tank. Yeah, a solar 3.0 with the ice. Yeah, with the Icefall Mantle, that you can basically create your own healing rift. It's that simple. Similar to my last video, but it's underappreciated because it has less views on it. Yeah, fire and ice does mix. Combine it with the healing grenade with cure. Yeah, with cure. Sure, you can survive. You can survive multiple hits like supers, like some melee supers, or even shotgun shots. The only way you won't survive is the slug shotguns or snipers. But either way, this is, in my opinion, the most underappreciated exotic, in my opinion. All right, so overall, there's plenty of exotics to be known that are not really fully utilized. If we cannot fully utilize this exotic, we normally dismantle them. And overall, that is my top pick of my underappreciated exotics. I hope this video will help. If not, then you know what to do. Anyways, for those who are wondering, asking when do I stream? Well, good news. I recently finally got a PS5 mic coming soon. And I do miss commentating, so I'm sorry if I'm not streaming that too much often. Man, but once the PS5 mic is coming, I guarantee to assure you that the mic will hopefully will get me to speak again. And so I'm really hoping about that one. And so without a doubt, thank you so much everyone for watching, and as always, stay epic.
This is gonna hurt. You're done.